All I can say with this week's episode of The Promised Neverland is bloody hell. I didn't remember most of this episode's content. I think at this point, I might remember half an episode, maybe an episode at best worth of content for the remainder of this season. The rest is completely fuzzy to me, so coming into this episode, it almost felt like being an anime original because things that were happening in this episode, from Emma getting whacked by Mama to Sister Crone getting flowered, Norman's announcement of being shipped out, I did remember that, so I was anticipating that, but for the most part, this was completely fresh to me because it's been so long since I read this content. Easily one of my favorite episodes of this season for The Promised Neverland. I just love how you can really tell Mama is the head bitch in charge around here, and the fact that when you see Grandma, and she's just as in on it with Mama, man, Crone got screwed over, and I just love how they directed her execution scene. Honestly, like, the way music was being explored in this episode, I think the beautiful and almost depressing / optimistic music that they were going for when Crone was getting approached by one of the demons was so perfectly done. That entire sequence was superb. You start off the episode and it looks pretty good for her, you know? You're getting a promotion to be Mama, but Crone is like, there's no way that this chick is going to beat me. I'm gonna sell her out. If Grandma's here, I can just tell her exactly what's going on, how Isabella screwed up, and the fact of the matter is, she should get screwed over, and she will get her promotion. But just that entire sequence, like Mama from frame one, she feels like she has the upper hand, and then you start thinking to yourself, well, maybe she doesn't have all the cards in her hand like she first thought. Maybe she isn't going to checkmate, and she's being overconfident, but just how they directed Grandma, and you're just seeing the like, nah, she's doing just fine. And just the crushing defeat for Crone, you feel bad, because Crone's one of my favorite characters in this arc, and just to see this jail sequence of the doors closing, and you can see this giant beast come approaching, and you're just like, she's going to fight it with basically a dinner knife. How the hell is she going to escape this? And you know she can't, but it keeps cutting away. They did a really interesting technique, and I don't recall if this was in the manga or not, but how they kept kind of going back to her past, showcasing like how she rose in the rankings, how she probably was an outcast, and how she kind of rose to the top and felt like she was finally becoming something, and to just see it keep cutting back and forth as it gets worse and worse for her to the point where you finally see the flower and you're just like, god damn, it's such a beautiful death, but such a horrible death wrapped up into one, literally having a giant alien demon looking thing stab you with a flower, suck out your life force, and the flower blossoms to just the most romantic and disgusting death imaginable. This is why it's such a terrifying series, because even when you believe the character is truly winning, that they have all the cards on the table, you'll see someone like Isabella pop up and just be like, nah bitch, I got the upper hand, and then you just see the most horror designed sequence, and I really think the music was a big part of why it was such a frightening scene. The visual directing was really spot on. I did like how they were playing around with the camera angles and just kind of focusing in on shots, how they're kind of warping perspective at times, but it really was the buildup of the music kind of eating away in the background alongside the voice acting, alongside just the reactions of fear that you can get from these characters, and how before Crone fully dies, she's basically hoping that these kids will escape and break the system that she obviously does not like. It was such a beautifully directed scene and really set the mood of the episode. Like, I remembered bits and pieces of the Crone situation, but it just was brought to life in such a beautiful and terrifying and disgusting way that you just bought into this episode, and you were thinking to yourself, okay, she's played her hand, Mama's the head bitch in charge, we get it, but we got our central three. They're brainiacs. There's no way that they can double whammy us in the same episode, and then they double whammy us in the same episode. Not only does Isabella get rid of Crone, she gets rid of goddamn Ray. She's just like, nah Ray, I know everything in this building. You guys thought you had the upper hand, Crone thought she had the upper hand, no one has the upper hand, I do. That's what I love about this series, is even when you buy into like, okay, everyone has the upper hand, everyone's gonna outplay the other, sometimes situations like this will occur where you'll have Mama just pop in being like, with that kind of Grinch-like smile, just ear-to-ear smile, grinning away, being like, you guys thought you had the upper hand, didn't ya? I absolutely love how terrifying but also badass this character is. Honestly, at this point, I actually think Mama might be one of my favorite characters in the anime. I liked Mama in the manga, but there's something about the voice acting, just the way they're directing her. She's just more menacing and creepy and badass than I remember, and I might even put her above Crone for the anime right now. I really liked what they did with this episode, especially seeing just the plan get progressively worse, and then the kind of reveal that Mama is just like there, and you think, okay, she's there, she knows, they're talking. There's no possible way that it can get worse for a third time. And then Emma jumps her, and then Mama's like, psych, breaks her damn knee, or sprains, whatever she did. Like, this is just the amount of times I was shocked, and I only remembered bits and pieces, but even the bits and pieces that I remembered, like, the reveal that Norman would be shipped out tomorrow, I was still more shocked because they were, like, directing the camera to kind of tilt around, and you're just like, I'm feeling nauseous, I'm feeling dizzy, like, this is unnerving, this is unnatural. And I love that, honestly. This is why I stopped reading The Promised Neverland, because I knew this is what an anime needs. The directing choices, the perspective, the atmospheric music and the sound effects, the voice acting, the reactions, having that kind of combined into one. There are certain areas that aren't as maybe polished up as I would like, but when you really look at all the elements at play, episodes like these really highlight why this is such a perfect horror anime, and why more anime should take note on how to do thriller and horror elements from The Promised Neverland, rather than just trying to be jump scares, because this is some of, if not the most terrifying content that I remember in anime, because it actually builds up a tense atmosphere and you feel like people are closing in. It feels like you're having a lack of breath. You can't think, you can't breathe, you can't focus, because every time you think you understand what's going on, it gets worse for these characters, and you just pray, at the very least, the Central 3, if not Central 5, if you're including Dawn and Gilda, can escape at the very least, because it just feels impossible now. We're having that hope. We're feeling like even though characters knew and were kind of like trying to outplay the other, still felt hopeful. And then you see Emma get her leg shattered. Then you learn that Norman's being shipped out. The way they were building up, man, like, if you thought Mama wasn't threatening before, you're definitely going to walk out of this episode being like, not only does she have Grandma on her side, she just took out the entire competition in one episode within 20 minutes. It was ridiculous, so I do gotta give credit to Don. That guy's like a quarterback. Ray was kicking on that door, and then he just comes charging in with one foul swoop. Like, that was amazing. I love that. Very few lighthearted moments, but I did like the Don charge in like a quarterback. That was really nice. This episode, holy hell, it was just, I'm so excited going forward because now I'm finally in that territory where I really remember very few details. I know a couple of key plot elements, but past that, this is just going to be completely fresh to me, and that's exciting. I really just love the directing choice, both visually as well as audio. The music, this is really one of the best soundtracks that I recall over the past couple of years in anime, just because it really eats away that execution scene. It gave me that sense of, on one hand, I'm like, this is actually really beautiful and creepy music, but at the same time, it's absolutely disturbing and needs to stop. But just the way they're cutting around just different angles, past and present, and then that final bit of music you see when Mama is finally leaving the house and she's looking at Dawn and Gilda, it kind of felt like the music was pulled from the gates of hell, because that was how demonic it sounded. It's such a range. Like, you can have typical horror creepy music, but then at other times, it almost feels like religious kind of symbolic music kind of building up in the background, which makes it all the creepier. And then at other times, you're just like, this comes straight from Satan's laboratory. Like, there's no way that this didn't come from Satan himself, because that's how demonic it sounds. This is why it's such the perfect medium for a series like The Promised Neverland, because you get all these extra visual layers, the colors, the way the camera can shift around, really getting you inside the character's head, how dizzy and nauseous that they're feeling. You feel that alongside these characters, and then with the music and the voice acting, just, it makes you uncomfortable, it makes you disturbed. Even if you didn't like Crone, I'm sure most people thought that was too much for someone like Sister Crone. Like, that was disgusting to see what happened, and you can just kind of picture, like, imagine all of the kids who had to have their heart stabbed with that flower and kind of see that as their last vision. Like, that's disgusting and horrible. You have Mama kind of bullshit and being like, you love you kids, I want the best, just enjoy your life, and it's a very peaceful death as long as you probably close your eyes and don't look at the demonic beast coming your way. You really do buy into the bullshit that she believes. Crone, on one hand, she doesn't buy into the bullshit, she just wanted the best life possible for her, and she was hoping for maybe these kids to escape. Mama, on the other hand, she's like, just enjoy your life. I'm kind of making this lie kind of feed to myself so I believe that you are on the best possible road, because she knows what's on the outside. Like, clearly, if demons are running humans' orphanage, like, it's clear that shit's not good outside of those walls, so I do think, like, she thinks this is the only outcome for her, but she's definitely been brainwashed far too much, and more than likely that grandma had an influence on her. I think they really built this tense atmosphere, probably one of, if not the most tense and disturbing episodes of The Promised Neverland, because once you thought the bad things were over, it just one-upped itself 3 or 4 times, like Crone dying. Okay, that's bad. Okay, Mama's escaping, she's firing Ray, that's bad. Oh, you broke Emma's leg, well, how is she gonna climb the wall? Oh, and just to tie off the episode, we're also gonna ship out one of our Central 3. What the hell? I don't even remember how the chapters functioned. I think it was a few chapters worth, so it wasn't just all packed into one, but in terms of an anime episode, this was stressful. there was anxiety, and that's how you know it was a damn good episode. I really enjoyed this episode. Like, there was a couple of moments near the beginning, some of the kids' eyes, like, it almost looked like alien eyes. I was like, what the hell's going on with the visuals? But luckily, it cleaned itself up very quickly and got right into the good content, and it was just a very stressful, very fun, very pleasant, and disturbing episode wrapped up into one beautiful package, which only The Promised Neverland can really do, because only can you come out of a series like this saying, I had a fun time, but I was also stressed out of my mind alongside these characters, and it's a big thanks to the visual directing and really great music. Let me know what everyone thought of this week's episode of The Promised Neverland. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Manga readers, how did you find the adaptation if you're a bit more fresh on the source material than myself? Anime originals, how stressed out were you? Did you expect any of these big moments to happen, or were you just expecting a couple of them, not all wrapped up into one package? Let me know down in that comment section below. And remember to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, and also hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. But until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.